Yeah. So, hi, Andy. Hi, Gary. Hi, Joanne. Hey, Steve. Feel free, guys, to just chat in the box what you'd like to learn about grants today here if you want. What would you like to learn about grants today? Hi, Janet.
Thanks for turning your camera on.
Janet, what do you want to learn about grants today? What do you know? What do you know about grants right now?
Nothing.
You don't know anything, Stevie. You don't know.
I don't.
You don't know anything about grants? Okay, so basically we'll start at the kind of beginning. Steve, what do you want to learn about grants today?
I'm always oh, am I off?
You're on.
Yeah.
No, my system decided to turn everything off as soon as I came in.
Okay, cool.
So actually, I know I have friends and family that always have are looking for grants for their businesses. So I'm like thinking that this would be a good opportunity to actually learn how to look for them, how to apply for them and whatnot. So
Steve, yeah, you came to the right spot, pal. You definitely came to the right spot. I'll help you with that. Feel free here. You're putting some comments in here in the bottom. Part-time consulting business. If you, I just kind of like to know what you guys want to know, how much you know about grants, stuff like that before I get into it. George, nice to see you, George.
Yeah, nice to see you as well, David. Thanks.
Yeah, George? What are your interests in grants?
So I work with startup companies, and typically they are always looking for different ways of finding money.
Really?
And so, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know why. So anyway, I came across your seminar, and I thought it would be interesting and just learn a little bit more about what you do, and you know, and what resources might be available for people to search, so that I can point them in a direction, not so much that I want to get interested in writing grants.
Well, you'll know what though, you'll learn a lot today about, I think, being straight and upfront with people about the grant world, because it's not what people think, especially at the startup level. So you know, we'll get into that. We'll get into that today.
Okay. Awesome, thanks.
Yeah. Anyone else want to just shoot me a message in the chat, or just let me know what you want, and then what you'd like to learn today, or any questions? By all means, let me know. I'd love to know. Love to hear what you're up to. Okay, Cecil. So I'll keep letting people in. I just want to make sure I'm recording. Okay, it is recording. Last time we did this, I didn't record, or I did record and then I stopped recording and then it didn't record. So do you want to, Cecil, just say anything, or do you want me to jump in?
Yeah, no, I can quickly. Welcome, everybody. I'm Cecile, and I'm the coordinator for the Maji Center at NAIT, which is an entrepreneurship center for all NAIT students. And we also have resources to help our alumni as well as our staff start companies. And we open our events up to everybody because we think more is better and everybody can help everybody. As is our tradition, let me begin by honoring and acknowledging that we here in Edmonton are on traditional Treaty 6 territory, an important treating ground center for the Métis Nation. And I would like to introduce you to David Kincaid, who is leading us through our session today all about government grants and startups. And I think you're going to find it very informative. I'm going to let David introduce his background and what he's all about. But over to you, David.
Okay, Cecile. I am going to, so first of all, thanks for coming and hanging out with me. And we're going to talk a bit about grants. Before we do that, I'm just going to introduce kind of who I am. So my company's Alberta Business Grants, albertabusinessgrants.ca, if you bring it up. So a little bit about my background, just so that you can get a feeling of where I come from. I have a master's degree in political science. I've taught 4 Canadian universities, and then I dropped out of my PhD program to go and start my own business, and that turned into writing grants. So today, I've been writing grants. I've been in grants, worked at the legislature in 2004 as a finance researcher. So I've been doing grants in the grant space, you know, a long time, and I've been writing them professionally since 2012. my website gets pretty busy. I've got over like 10,000 people visited a month. We've got a ton of free resources on there. Actually, why don't I just show you? Because I think we're just going to try to get you educated on this for a second. I'll just share my screen. I designed it specifically, kind of like my mission, I guess, if you will. Let's just bring this over here. This is my site here. You can learn about how grants work here. This is a big common misconception around who's eligible for grants. You know, it's these sectors where most of the money is. And then there's kind of these odd, kind of weird, not weird, but there's other group of grants here, like affordable housing, arts and culture, export. That is like another segment of grants.
Sorry, I don't think we're seeing the page that you want us to see right now.
Oh, hold on. Hold on a sec. Thank you for letting me know that. Here we go. Right here. Does that work? Can you see now?
That's the one.
Thanks, Jen. You're officially taking over for Cecile as my second hand assistant doing this. But look at this. This is where the major grants are. And then this is kind of that other sector of grants. Like if you're in affordable housing, arts and culture, exports, another one. We're going to get into business about that in a minute. So that's a big sector for grants. But I want to show you this. So I started building this grant database in 2012. And you can just pick a sector you're in, like agriculture, any province actually. Click find. And then you can find there's 80 grants. So if you're in agriculture, you can click on the grant. It'll be the name. We try to keep it updated too. How much it's worth, description, eligible applicants, who's eligible, what's eligible, deadline, date, contact. That's all free. So you guys can learn a ton about grants there. And I also have a blog. I'm not promoting, these are all free stuff, guys. I'm just showing you just to get your education up on grants because it's not a lot of education on grants. So you can track grants here. If you just download that, you get every Monday all the new grants that are coming out in the next quarter because you always got to get ahead of grants. Grants are 99%. You got to apply like in advance before they happen. And that's all free. So you can do that. And then there's a blog here, which you can read about on every cover. I've been doing a blog for years on grants. So you can find stuff on equipment, women, I mean, just about every topic you can think of, I've written about on grants, and it's all there for free for you. So that's kind of just an overview of me for a sec on who I am. And so Cecile wanted me to talk to you today about kind of starting a business, growing it with grants. And oftentimes I find like we get emails, like I got an email box, we get like 15 emails a day. People have no idea how grants work. Like it's so confusing for them. And so I kind of want to like end the madness. And the other kind of part I want to do here is like my mission is kind of build trust between government and businesses. Like I had a government background, and I think like this is just my own opinion. There's if you grow up with a government background, like I did, parents were public servants, educated at the university, there's always that sort of misunderstanding of business. And then at the same time, a lot of people are business, but they don't have an understanding of government. So then it's just foggy. So then you get grants, which are like money for businesses, and it just gets weird. So the first step, I'm going to walk you through the money. So if you're here to say, hey, I want to give money to startups, I'll walk you through that. But as Cecile and I just talked about, I'm going to give you just 101, like government 101. So share, can you share a link? Yeah, we can put the link. Cecile, if you could put the Alberta, I guess, I don't know what link Maria's talking about, but maybe throw the grant link in there, or the website. So to do this, I'm going to show you something. You guys okay with that? Like if I just give you kind of a 101 government, how it works, I think if you understand this, your life will get better. So let's do this. Whiteboard. Can you see the whiteboard okay? Mm-hmm. All right. I'm going to try something new today. There are 20 people on this call. Let's say we form our own country, if you will. So how many billion people in the world right now? What's the latest numbers? 7 billion or something? 6, 7 billion. We're going to be 20 people. So we got 20 people in our country. And let's just say for this term, I'm elected president. And everyone's going to pay the government, which I'm leading for this term, $1 $1 in tax. So you're going to pay $1 in tax. So I'm going to have 20 bucks. So I'm the government of the grant country. We've got $1 tax, really cheap tax rate. Everyone only has to pay 10%. I got 20 bucks. I spend 10 of it on security, Zoom hosting, the email marketing, salaries for Cecile and I, because we're, we need salaries. And then there's 10 bucks left. Now, when I was running and everyone here elected me, I said, we're going to create jobs and we're going to, let's say, reduce emissions, right? And reduce, I'm just going to say emissions. And what would be another one? Diversify the economy, all right? Diversify the economy. Now so this is my platform, okay? This is my platform. Hopefully you're kind of getting the sense that this is how it works. This is how our government works, right? People run, they say, this is what you vote for me. I'm going to do these things. They get elected, they get some money, and then they have to create programs. Now, with that, let's say I'm going to run an incentive program for grants, because we can find people, right? So we can collect other revenue. If some of you do something and I find you, in this case, speeding or something, we could collect money. But let's say we create some grants, which are incentives to do things. What type of grants would we want to create? Or what type of grants would I want to create? I'd want to create grants that fulfill my promise. So let's say there's 20 people here. There's 18 of you, or let's say 15 of you are business owners. And some of you are hairdressers, right? Some of you are brick and mortar. Maybe you own a fitness facility, right? And some of you maybe are doing technology. Let's just say Shopify, right? And then another one would be, let's say we're doing something in agriculture. Now, which organization should we give grants to? We only have a few bucks. Anyone want to take a stab at it? Feel free to jump in here. You can either throw it in the chat if you want. See,
I would say any that are going to diversify the economy, create jobs out of those three.
well,
And maybe reduce emissions.
yeah. So ideally what you're trying to do here, agriculture, food, what you're trying, like what the government's trying to do, right, is if we fund this person, and I'm not picking on it, this particular industry, but like a small quote unquote business that just has local customers. Maybe it's a bread store, a local bread store, bakery. It's very different because you can only have so much revenue. They can only do so much sales. But if you have a Shopify and you have customers all over the world signing up, paying taxes, our return, like if we give this company $2 and they grow revenues like this, right? That can go up and up and up. We're going to get back a ton of money. But often what I get are people in this industry who are saying, hey, is there a grant for me? Is there a grant for me? And it sounds like there's grants for you, but really the best grants are for like companies that are scaling, these tech, agriculture. Why? Because you can sell products around the world. So this is the first time I've ever done this. Don't know if I'll ever do it again, but that gives you a general idea of what's going on. So Janet, does that make sense? I can see you. That's why I'm looking at. Did you kind of just get a general sense of what that was there? All right. Now I want to show you one other thing, and then I'm going to get into just showing you the specific grants. So here is another take at this. So, oops. One thing you need to be aware of in grants is this, and this is what people, these all look the same, but this is actually the Alberta legislature. Put a flag up there, that's the Alberta. And this is Parliament, right? So this is Canada. And then I'll break into this. I won't go too long, guys. I'll go another maybe 10 minutes and then we'll just open up for questions. So this is Canada. So this is our state, right? These are people over here. So what happens is we elect, again, there's the platform, right? So the platform people are running here on a platform. They get elected provincially and federally from the same people. So we send our money here, right? And it comes back here are basically carrots and sticks, right? So this would be a carrot. And then this would be a stick. Let's just do that. Sticks would be fines. And incentives, grants work, right? You say, hey, entrepreneurs, solve this problem. They chase the money. They'll give you free money, so they chase it. So that's where grants come from. Now, grants can be a dirty word, so they're often not called that. They'll be called like programs, funds, initiatives. They'll call them just about anything other than a grant. Now, in and out of favor, like once there's a big grant scandal, no grants are called grants for a long time. If they can go quite a while without a grant scandal, grants come back. Like right now, grants okay. There's the Alberta Jobs Now grant, which if you're hiring an unemployed person, which for the brick and mortar, you can actually get those grants right now. I'm going to show you them in a minute. So anyway, that is our system. And you kind of have to understand this to understand what's going on with grants. So it's elected officials giving money to businesses, supporting their platform. So if you're reducing emissions, diversifying the culture, there's a ton of grants. So that's where we're at. So now let's go. I want to walk you through how this works. Actually, let's just have, knowing that there's a lot of myths in grants. What are your thoughts on, has anyone heard of grants for women? Let's just play a game in the chat for a second. Do you think there's a lot of grants for women? Just put your comments in the chat. And the answer is, I'm just bringing it, here's your answer here. No, there's not. It's a myth. There's a lot of myths in grants. So there was the Women Entrepreneurship Fund, which was oversubscribed, like too many people, well, not too many, a lot of people applied and they only had so many money. But if you read that, they're like, well, we want to support businesses that are exporting. So a lot of women who looked at it said, oh, well, I'm not exporting. Why do you need to export? Well, for the reasons we just showed you up front. Okay. Now, the next question is, what about startups? I know everyone here thinks, hey, there's money for startups. Do you think there's money for startups? Like straight up, here's cash. Yeah, you guys are getting the hang of this. No, and why? A big part of it is, it depends. That's actually true. There is some money, and I'm going to show you which one where they are right now. Here's kind of a resource on most of them right here. I'll put it in the chat for you. There is some, but they fund the ecosystem, which I'll get to in a minute. Now, brick and mortar, I want to show you something because I said a second ago, that there's not a lot, but there is. If you're in the brick and mortar, remember how I said there wasn't a lot? Well, there's this one, which is if you want to open a restaurant in town, the city has like these facade improvement grants, which can be cover up to 50,000 in renovation costs. Could you imagine you were doing, this is what I find amazing about grants. Someone will be an entrepreneur, they'll do this and not know there was a grant available where they could get 50 grand back. Like I've seen that so many times. You can see this. Can you see this okay? So that's a grant for that, which is, but there's not a lot in that space. The other grant that you should know about now is the Alberta Jobs Now grant. And this is just due to COVID. If you're hiring employees, or if you want to just, I know we're starting a business right now, so I'm going to keep it on businesses, but if you don't have a business, you're going to work for someone, you can get a grant for your salary right now. So this is like that hairdresser or the brick and mortar that I was telling you about. This is an opportunity, like a once in a, probably our lifetime opportunity. There's like a straight up, you can get 25% of their wage subsidized. So it's pretty incredible. And the third thing I want to talk to you about is consulting, because there's a lot of people that want to get into consulting. And here's how consulting grants work. So if you go Can Export, oftentimes to the same point I was mentioning to you earlier about an individual, a small business might not be able to get a grant. Well, consulting kind of falls into that. But you can be an eligible expense. And a lot of businesses that win grants over 25 grand, in fact, federally, every grant over 25 has to be listed publicly every quarter. And remember how I told you grants are in advance? Well, you can get a list of people who are won, and then you can approach them for your services. So I often advise this: if you're like a consultant on the line or want to be a consultant and you want to get a company to get a grant to pay your services, this is a great way to do it. Is you can kind of, whether you could be a digital marketer, you could be like that Can Export has $50,000 worth of Google ads you can spend on a client win. So if you're a digital marketer or you want to have a digital marketing business, this could change your life. Just knowing that, right? Like, oh, these people get grants. My invoices to my clients could get subsidized. Like, wow, that's pretty crazy. And a lot of people don't know that. Okay, I want to watch my time here. So knowing that, then I want to show you the ecosystem. So the first stop is like they fund things like this. You want to start a business? Here's free. I actually took this program. Free government funded self-employment training. It's 8 weeks and you can earn money while you're on EI and they coach you on business. So it's like they won't give you, I'll put it in the chat box for you too. So it's not straight up cash, but that's the way the government funded it. It's like less risky. You know, you get bureaucrats up front who are risk adverse. This is a good way for them to allocate capital to the startup ecosystem. On the tech front, there's these micro grants that fund startups. And they're $10,000, but they go to a service provider. I think you're starting to see a pattern here. So if you're in technology, look at this one. In agriculture, there's a grant called Products to Market. So if you're looking to start that, the number I said it was a major source. You come in here, go in terms and conditions. This is the Alberta Grant. Down here, go to eligible applicants. You can see it here, new entrants. There's not a lot of them. So, and if you're Indigenous, on that link I showed you before, there's a spot there. There's another branch, like it's a much higher scale. There might be someone on here who's doing it, but when we talked about reducing emissions, it's a huge priority for government. So massive money for startups. You can look at people who've won these. Some of them are established, but some of them are startups. Like you saw like the geothermal people who are doing that. They run the pipe down through the ground. Folks, they're getting millions of dollars. And if you go back to that diagram we had at the beginning of the presentation, it was that those people who were doing energy reductions were getting the most money because they were meeting those goals. So that gives you an idea of tech, ag, environment. That's where the money is. You can go through Alberta Innovates. IRAP's another one for technology. You can find it on the database that I showed you earlier. You can just do tech. but that's where most of the funding is. Now I want to show you something else for a startup. One of the easiest grants you can get is for a student. So if you're looking to start your business, government's trying to get youth employed. And then there's these things called delivery agents. So it's very confusing for people. They think Canada Summer Job Grants, but there's way more grants than that. There's Technation, which is a delivery agent. There's a whole bunch of them that will fund students. So these ones, look at this, and look what happens. At a later date this summer, the subsidy will increase. So people who got summer students are getting $7,500 back. And you can get them in the fall and the winter too. So for growing your business, it's incredible. Okay, I want to cover a couple things and then I'll open it up for questions with you. It gets confusing. Remember my diagram where there was provincial and federal, and it's the same electorate, the people who voted them? Well, the Alberta government has an export grant. This one's 25,000. And then CanExport has 25 grants. So if you're looking to start a business and you're thinking, how can I leverage grants? Well, understand, you could pick the sector. If you have one that's exporting, it's like, wow, okay, that's the road to grants. That's, if you're weighing all things, put that into your cash flow and say, it's got to make sense. Obviously, maybe nothing wrong with having a bakery and just having that as your business. But if you're really thinking it through and you want to make a big impact, there's multiple grants. So you could get an export provincial one and an export federal. I think the last thing I'm going to leave you with, and then I'm going to just open up for question, is in grants, there's 3 steps. So you want to find your grant. I'm going to go back to this. Find your grant up front. That's the most important thing. If it's really a good fit, go for it. If it's kind of vague, you're not sure, it's probably not for you. Like, you always want to be like, it's a perfect fit. It was written for me. It was great. Then the second thing you want to do is do this. You want to call them, email them, talk to them before you apply. And here's a blog I'll put in the chat for you. There's 6 questions to ask a question. And they're basically, hey, am I eligible? Is funding still available? Are you still accepting applications? What's the deadline? How competitive? Any advice? I find those 6 questions are the most important questions in grants. Like, it will be a nightmare for you. It can be a nightmare for you if you put a bunch of work in and you find out, oh, you're not eligible, or you didn't check this box of being applicable. You were 1, 2, 3. So the 25 pages, we're not going to read it because I'm sorry, you don't fit. So it's very much reading based. You've got to read, understand it. And then you go to step 3, which is write it. And I also have a blog in there on writing too, which you can find. I'll see if I can bring it up for you. So that is the gist of it. I'll look for that right now. But you find it, you meet, and you write. And I know I kind of just threw a lot at you, but that's kind of a very high level of how grants work, how it can save you a headache, how the government works, why they work. And hopefully, if you can be successful, there's nothing wrong with just starting out small either. Get yourself a summer student, away you go from there. So I'll answer any questions you want if you'd like.
Can you share that tech startup grant, that media one or whatever?
Sure. The micro voucher? Yeah.
I think so, yeah. That was up to 10,000, I think.
Yeah, I just put it in the chat. So with Alberta Innovates, you want to reach out to them. They have these technology development advisors. So make sure
Would graphic design fall in that category, or does it have to be more like web development?
Well, again, so remember my point earlier about what they're funding? They want to fund those tech companies that are going to grow and scale. So if you're going to be, if you're just straight up graphic design, you're probably better being an eligible expense rather than applying for a grant. Like, you want to speak to people who are winning grants so that they can hire you, right? Are you a graphic designer, if you don't mind me asking?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
So the only grants you're going to get in that space, you kind of fall into that very small niche, right? It's like, you get a student to help you. You can get the Canada Alberta Jobs Grant for training, they made some changes to that. Are you a solopreneur?
Yes, I am.
Yeah. So look at this. I'll just show you something. This has never happened before, and you may want to consider it. But due to COVID, it's gotten better. Can you see my Canada Jobs Grant here? You seeing the right thing? I think you are. Look at this. Business owners, sole proprietors with 4 or fewer employees are now eligible. So you can now get training grants, Crandall, which would be incredible, right? Like if you've got to take some training courses, you can get 2/3 of it back. That what prior to COVID, you couldn't even get that, but you can now. So you either need to go that way, get a student, or you can get, how long have you been in business?
I literally just started, like I'm working on my website right now to get it up and going. And I've only started with like $1,000.
Yeah, it's not.
Can I ask, are you First Nations or Indigenous?
I am, yes. I'm like
Does that
Nation
affect
too.
anything, David?
Yeah, it does. I would contact these because there's a grant you can get. Contact these folks; they're pretty good. They'll point you in the right direction. Happy to. I can't pronounce very well. Happy to Kosen, but but they know that network space really well. They'll because you can get some startup capital, get you rolling there.
Okay.
Anyone else? Who else is starting a business here or wants to? What kind of niche do you want to go in? See if we can get you rolling on a grant. Don't be shy. Either just throw it in.
I'm going to be working with a company that does emissions management. So they have some tech, but that's not really the focus. It's more determining the emissions
Okay,
for
so
companies.
are you going to be an employee with the company?
I will, yeah.
Yeah, so they have that new grant that I showed you, that Alberta Jobs Now grant. So
Yeah, so I'm thinking sort of aside from that, because we know about that one, if there's anything else.
well, you want to be looking at how many employees do they have?
There's going to be probably about 10.
Yeah, so go students, interns, training grant, and unless they have a technology, like, are they a consulting firm?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's what you said before, where find the people who have the grants
Yeah,
and
exactly.
approach them.
Yeah, and interns and students in training, and that might be great. Like, you know what I mean? Like you get a couple students, if they might ever be hiring students. So
how stackable are some of these? So like for the jobs grant, is that stackable with the training grant?
each one's different.
Oh.
Those 2 grants are completely different. Like you can get both of them,
Right.
no problem. Stackable means you're putting the grants together for the same eligible expense. So you're paying $100. One's covering 50, one's covering 25. That's what stackable means in grants. So, but you can have multiple grants going in one organization. Like I have clients with like lots of grants going on. So yeah. Who else is doing something cool or wants to do something cool or not cool?
Ashley put a question in the chat.
Okay, Ashley, here we go. My goal is to start a salon. So I know that's harder for me to find grants. Where I should be looking, do you think I could qualify for renovation grants, or if I install equipment with, no. Oh, well, hold on. Look at ERA Alberta, but it's big. I think they're 250. So you can look at, let's just have a look. So here's the Salon 101 process, okay? So first of all, know about the training grant. If you do need to do any training, like on customer support, know if you hire anyone for your salon and they're on EI, or if they're unemployed, they can get this grant. If you hire a student for digital marketer, you can get something like this and they can go part-time. You can call the facade improvement people, find out about that one. And then if this program is really great too. If you qualify for this, you can build out your business and grow your business at the same time. It's government funded. So there's multiple avenues that you can go there. But I think there comes a point, Ashley, where you look at this, you build your plan, and then you move on. Because, if you said, Dave, I have a tech company and we're growing like gangbusters and we're going to be hiring youth, and we're going to be going into new countries and all that. It's like, okay, there's gazillions of grants. At your space, I think you need to be very concentrated and say, I'm going to take this one and leverage it. Oh, I did put it in there, Crandall. It's called Appy. Did I put it to everybody? Oh, I think let me put this one here. I'll put this. Appy. Here it is. There it is. They'll reach it. They're helpful. They're good. They'll point you in the right direction. Again, I think it's my team. So anyone else here got a company they want to do? Did you create your web page or had someone to do it for me? Oh my gosh, that's my third website. I built that. It's my third time. I had tons of help with it. Tons of people. You're welcome, Ashley. Carolyn, Maria, anyone else have any ideas what you want to do? I can pretty much give you probably an answer on it if you want.
It's George. So lots of grants, and running a business. So how would you suggest people actually qualify their time to make sure, like, this is a grant worth pursuing, and if there's ways to become more efficient at writing grants, or I guess one of the concerns I have is, like, you could spend more than your full work week writing grants. So how do you know, other than calling up people when you find something to see if it's applicable, like, still are, if there's 1,000 people applying and only 10 get selected, those aren't great odds.
Yeah, well, George, first of all, some are more competitive than others. So part of the key of finding grants is, like, okay, that's why in that question, the 6 questions, like, how competitive is it? If it's super competitive, it's, you got to be careful. The other thing is, when you speak to the grant agency first, I think you should have that question with them and say, look, because they're a lot of work, even the micro voucher, it's, they ask you everything, right? Because they're giving out money and they want to know that they're doing their due diligence. So I think you need to really get a sense from the TDA, and be honest with them. Like, are we wasting our time here? Do we have something that is a fit? And they're pretty good. So they'll give you an idea. So for direct startups, I mean, if they don't have any money and they're just starting out, I mean, they just kind of got to tough it out, get it done, and put it in. I mean, that's what I advise them. And I advise them never to write unless, they're getting really good feedback, because it can be, you don't want to put all your eggs in that basket. That's for sure. Hope that
Thanks.
can help. My idea is to fix furniture, upholstery. So Maria, again, that self-employment training program is kind of how the government would come in and fund to help you flesh out your idea and build a business plan, or, take a program in NAIT and the entrepreneur program, or, whatever it's going to be. I'm just kind of showing you where the funding is. The furniture, like, if you're straight up fixing furniture, again, that's kind of like that brick and mortar. It's not a major sector for grants. And you can be, now, if you create fabric that you can sell to everybody, and people from around the world are buying your fabric, now the government wants to get behind you and support you with grants. So it's kind of, I mean, look at my job. Like, I write grants for people. It's not an eligible grant sector. If I was creating something, the software tool that everyone in the world could use to write grants, then conceivably I could probably get funding, at least in theory. So that's kind of where you got to be careful of. Anyone else? Yeah, write grants. That's what I do all day long, is write grants. That's why when I get on this break, I'm like, oh, good, I get a break from writing grants. If you do have any questions after this, you can always email support, myself or someone on my team, albertabusinessgrants.ca, and we can get back to you. No, it's virtual, Janet. And there's one in Calgary too, MMPs in Calgary. They run it out of there. So it goes anywhere around the province. And my website shows a ton of other grants. Like I showed you just a couple here for employees. There's, if you go on my dad's, we put them all up there. There's a pile of them, like Strive for Work and all that kind of stuff. Okay, Joanne, see you later. I think that's pretty much it, unless anyone else has any other questions. I don't want to keep you any longer than you are in your lunchtime. Okay.
Ashley put another question in.
Ashley, just a thought with here. If I set up an online store and sell products internationally, I think so. Like, go and read the guidelines, but you kind of got the right idea. I absolutely think so, Ashley. You're welcome, George. See ya. You're welcome, Steve. Hope you guys have a good day. Crandall, yeah, see ya. Crandall, they'll help you out and they'll get you on the right track. There's lots of opportunity there for you. Okay, I'm just going to turn the recorder off here.
Can grants be given to non-citizens?
No, rarely. But you know what? They have, if you go to like the Center for Immigration or whatever, like they have those, those offices, they have programs there that are pretty good. And I saw one like New Canadian Start a Business program. Check that out because they're probably really good. Get involved with that. I'm sure you'll find something there, valuable resources. Yeah, permanent residents, okay. That's fine. I think it's permanent resident, Canadian citizens, you're fine. Yeah, Mennonite Center, stuff like that. Yeah, they have those like programs that, again, the government funds to help people get here and start a business, right? I mean, it's actually probably a great idea. Like, honestly, if I showed up in Canada and I was new, I'd just go right starting a business. Like just boom.
David, can you share the name of the website which you had suggested? Please, I missed that.
It's in Cecile put it in the chat box. It's Mennonite Center. Do you see it there? Yeah, you got it. Yeah. Chase that down. There could be something there. And there's also Business Link has some great stuff. Exactly. And also they came out with the what's it called? Black entrepreneurial program too. So I don't know your ethnicity or whatever, but yeah, they've got that loan too. So it's, I would really encourage you to start a business. Funny, eh? Like I grew up here in Canada and a lot of my friends said none of them started businesses, but I don't know if you've got the entrepreneurial bug, I would go for it. 100%. What Ashley, any other questions, guys? What's that one? Oh, is that their website?
That's the Mennonite Center.
Awesome. Yeah, I bet you any money they have something. There was one down on Jasper Ave that was there for a while. I've been meaning to do a blog on new Canadians and grants. They'll know what it is. Programs and services, funders. What's funders? I'm just on their website right now. Yeah, like look at this, guys. People who can master grants, like sometimes forget, but there's these little niches. This is the website here. Look, program are supported and funded by various agencies. Government of Canada, Alberta. So they're getting money. Programs and services, employment programs. There you go. Jobs ready program, construction futures. I don't see one starting a business, but you know, you're, they'll know. I know there's some entrepreneurial. I just can't remember what it was. This government paid for funding, right? For coaching. I mean, it's good to know about this stuff. At least I think it would be. Like if I was new to the country, where would you go that has these programs? So many people arrive, probably don't even know it's there.
There's a question about the, I think it was a blog you did with the 6 questions to ask if you contact a granting organization. Where do they find that?
Yeah, I'll put it in the chat for you. I think this is the best blog I ever wrote. It's not the most popular, but I'm like, it's the one that'll save your life. Like, I have a client that I started working with, and you know, they did a typical 40-page proposal and it got rejected. So I said, you know, what happened? And you know, they do a lot of great things, but they had not met the eligibility. And you know, even I forget sometimes with it. Like, you know, I'm doing so many grant applications, I'll get over comfortable and I'll apply and I won't reach out to them, and it's wrong. Like, you should always reach out to them, let them know, get them engaged, build a relationship. It's really important. So Carolyn, I'm just looking if there's any other questions here. So Odyssey, Carolyn, are you looking to hire students, or are you looking to do you have a student or something? What are you doing with students?
I am going to be hiring a summer high school student actually this summer for a particular project. I have an accounting practice.
And you're hiring someone who's coming out of
High school. I believe she's a grade 11 student, just finishing grade 11.
Oh.
I've already chosen the individual. Just used talking about summer grants was the one. I hadn't thought about a grant to cover her until listening to you today.
You know what? I don't know. Like, at the high school level is very tricky. Again, you can check out that Ventures for Canada. But even the Canada Summer Job Grant, Technation, they're all post-secondary. I wonder if you would qualify for I don't know if a grade 11 student would qualify as unemployed. So the Alberta Jobs Now grant probably wouldn't work. But what I would do, more importantly, Carolyn, is kind of get your, you know, head around how can you leverage grants moving forward. Definitely use the training grant for all. How many staff do you have?
3.
Yeah, so if you grow that business, and like if you have to start paying for their designations and stuff, and on the student side, I would definitely look at get your Canada Summer Jobs grants in for sure for hiring youth. But beyond that, those are kind of the main ones. Most of them are related to your company needs to be in technology or in reducing emissions or in natural resources. Those are the interns you can get, right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Straight up professional services, kind of like mine, you know, you're only going to get technician grant, get a student to come work with you. And even that has to be sort of on the digital marketing side. So, I mean, that's just the world we live in. You know, provide values to your clients and say, hey, make sure they're getting their grants, I think is another great thing you can do just to grow your business and let your clients, because a lot of accountants don't even let their clients know about the grants, right?
Well, I have to say that's why I listened to this session, was because it's a popular question. Am I eligible for a grant? And I would have no clue. And so my advice, especially to charities, has always been to just apply. And I have a few clients who are private foundations, and of course there's money available, but nobody knows about it. So my idea of being here was just kind of get an overview so that I could advise clients who ask questions about grants, because I know nothing.
Well, and I mean, that's part of why I'm doing this, right? It's just educating people. Like I come on here, there's a lot of people who are just kind of buzzing around. They just don't know. So I kind of put these, one of the reasons why I wanted to do this is just to educate people. And I'll put this up on my YouTube channel so that people email me. I can, you can even share this video with people, especially the beginning part, so they can get their head around grants, right? Like it can be used for multiple people because it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And I would definitely share that. And I've made a note of your website. So absolutely, I'll be sharing that as well.
Yeah. And it helps. Like, I mean, I got tons of like a lot of stuff. What I do is just educational. So I don't know. There's too many webs. I'm sure there's some, but I'd like to think it's a very helpful website for people that they can get free stuff and just figure grants out. So
sounds brilliant. Well, thank you very much. And thank you very much for your time in doing this. It was brilliant.
Yeah, no, you're welcome. Have a nice day, Carolyn.
Thank you.
Ash, anything else from you? The grants are tricky to figure out, like I'm glad we had a chance to do this because there's myths. They're not easy to get, but if you can kind of figure them out, you'll get really rolling in them. It's funny, you're reading the paper, people went like certain companies win grants all the time. Like I look at all the lists of grants and like people who get dialed in and figure it out really hit it out of the park, and then others don't. Cecile, does that work for you?
Yep, we're good now. Thank you.
Well, thank you
everybody for joining us and staying. And thank you, David, for making it pretty clear where people need to look and what they need to think about when they're approaching a grant.
Totally. Okay, well, I'll get this uploaded to my YouTube channel. I'll send it over to you, Cecile, right away.
Okay, awesome. Have a great afternoon, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.